Have you guys ever had a hamstring strain? Like, it absolutely sucks. It is the worst feeling ever, especially when you feel like that pop or that twinge in your hamstring when you're running. You see guys booking it and then they just pull up and they grab their hamstring or they just fall down. Like, I know I had that happen one time and it absolutely sucks, all right? So what we're gonna do today, we are going to cover a little bit about hamstring strains, why you get them, what could be causing them, and also some drills and some things to rehab it if you have one right now, or just some things you can incorporate into training to try and prevent that because they suck. Your hamstrings are really caught like in a tough spot because they do two jobs. So they cross your hip, so that way they do hip extension. So if you keep your legs straight, they do some work in extending your hip, but they also do some work in flexing your knee. So bringing your heel towards your butt like that, all right? And so they're doing a lot of work. They're caught in the middle of when you're sprinting because you have these giant force producers in your glutes and your hamstrings when they're coming down, but then they also have to propel and bounce you back up to cause you to sprint. Now, what you notice a lot of times when guys get a hamstring strain is when their foot contacts the ground, okay? So once they hit the ground and they have to absorb all that force from coming down, that's when they typically pull up. You'll never really see it too much when they're pushing off or producing force, but it's more so when they're stopping and absorbing, all right? So once they hit that ground. Now, two reasons that this hamstring strain might be happening is number one is our sprinting technique. So we could be reaching too far in front of us, causing it more stress in that muscle. Two, that muscle can be weak. The fact that it is when it hits the ground, it lacks the eccentric strength and that force absorption. So once it hits the ground, it just doesn't have the capacity to take all the forces going through it. So therefore it tweaks and pulls up a little bit. And thirdly, it could be the position. So the position more so of your rib cage and your pelvis. So when you're running, you kind of want to keep a nice tight core and you don't want too much of that anterior pelvic tilt. So when you're running in that anterior pelvic tilt, it could cause more stretch on the backside. So the muscles are already pre-stretched, and when it hits the ground, it takes out the forces, it stretches a little bit more. And again, that could be another contributor causing a hamstring strain for you guys. Now, two ways to try to prevent these hamstring strains for you guys is number one, improve your sprinting technique, all right? So if you notice, and I start with your posture, all right? So when I'm running, if I lean back and I have bad posture like a lot of guys do, their head will kick back, what you'll notice, I'm automatically gonna land with my foot too far out in front of my center of mass. You're gonna be what we like to call like a puller. So like when you hit the ground, you really pull, causing a lot of stress in your hamstrings. So improving your technique is number one. Start with your posture, or get a coach and get some feedback for yourself, all right? So you know what's going on and how to fix that. Two is you can strengthen your glutes, your hamstrings, and also your core, all right? So for our glutes and our hamstrings, we like to focus on some heavy load or high speed eccentrics, just to expose your hamstring muscle to like that rapid contraction that's going to be experiencing when you're sprinting. So again, going a little bit lighter, going a little bit faster. But again, there's tons of different ways to do your training. You can do heavy eccentrics, we can do speed stuff. It really depends on what training block it is. But just know that your training should include all different forms of that. Now, if you do have a hamstring strain right now, we're gonna give you some drills that we stole from Sports Rehab Experts. So make sure you check them out. There's a link down below. Shout out to Greg. But there's some hamstring drills you can start to do to start rehabbing that technique. And kind of phase one, a simple place to start is just isometric contraction. So it's not really too stressful on your muscle. You can kind of safely start to integrate or start to work your hamstrings and not worry about having pain. So phase one, what you want to do is you basically want to go heels on a bench, all right? And then you want to go toes up, make sure your ribs and your pelvis are kind of locked together so you have a good core position, and that's just going to cause you to work your hamstrings and send a signal there a little bit better. So all you want to do is have your hands up, reach, and you simply want to try to dig your heels into the bench and drop your tailbone to the floor even though it's not going to, okay? But I'm reaching for the ceiling, my hips are reaching for the floor, my core is engaged, and I'm just digging my heels into the bench as hard as I can. You should feel a good isometric contraction right there. So that's kind of part number one. Part number two, if that's easy, I want to do the exact same thing, but I can go on a single leg. So what I've been doing here, that's part one. Part two, if I want to increase the demand, I can just lift one leg, dig that heel in, squeeze as hard as I can, and you'll feel your hamstrings fire up without a doubt, okay? Third one, I can just change the position. So what I can do is I can put a little bit more length in my hamstring muscle. So if I just slide out a little bit, and again, I can do double leg to start, putting more stress or hamstring at a different angle. And again, if that's easy, I can do the single leg as well. Just try to drive my heel into the bench as hard as I can, reaching, keeping that core tight. And then if you start doing those, The last thing you can start to do is challenge them by doing some eccentric sliders. So same idea, hips up, arms up, ribs down, and then you just want to go about a 5 to 7 second exhale, just pushing your legs straight out away from you, keeping your core position nice and tight, and now you're slowly starting to add different types of movement and different lengths of what's going on in your guys' hamstrings. Now those drills were a little bit more rehab based, like when you're coming off a hamstring tweak. Going back to our original point of helping your muscles when they're healthy, be able to A, absorb force, and B, produce and absorb force rapidly, we're gonna go over the two things like we're talking about. So one way to do that is with RDLs. So you can do your heavy eccentrics where again you get your weight and do an RDL where you take about 5 seconds on the way down. So again, just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then obviously come up quick. So that's just like how you do your eccentrics. And if once you progress from doing heavy weight with that, what you can start to do is like those rapid or high force, high speed RDLs. So you can do the same exact exercise and get a completely different training response, okay? So what that would look like, same exact motion, but now I'm almost dropping it or just going rapidly on the way down and obviously reversing that rapidly coming up. So get really tight and then come down fast, really commit, just down, back up, down, up, down, up. So now I'm having all this force, gravity's pulling this weight down so it's a little bit faster, it's a little bit more forceful, and it's producing a lot more stress in those hamstring muscles for you guys, all right? So there's a couple things that you can do to start rehabbing your hamstring injury if you have one, and how to start adding some strength training, different things, variations into your guys' program. So if you like this video, guys, give me that thumbs up, hit that like, hit that subscribe to the channel because more stuff like this is coming your way. And we also put together a free 4-week speed, strength, power workouts down below. Click the link, it'll take you to a page where you can put in your email, and I will send you that free 4-week workout right now.